time.
All right. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 37 of the Unfiltered Race on Fans Only Podcast. Blah, 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 blah. Apparently, I can't talk when I'm in Utah. Race Fans Only Podcast. So Blake's got our signature Make Prime primary right there, ready to go. And we're going to break down Kansas, followed by all the rumors that seem to be coming out. It sounds like we might be getting some unbelievable news. Still have to wait to see what happens, and then how that corresponds to ratings with what we've been seeing. So let's start with just the race itself. Um, so since we're in the middle of the week now, the race got a 90% from Jeff Gluck's poll. I wonder how much of that was due to the finish versus the overall quality of the
But
racing
not just the finish, but
and
who
the
won.
winner and the winner.
Yeah, I
So
think if Denny Hamlin wins, you're looking at 65%.
yeah. So let's start with all right. So we're at the fifth race of the playoffs now. So we're halfway through. Toyota has essentially dominated every single race so far, and they've managed not to win just about 50% of them at this point, some way, somehow. Um, so they clearly have the speed, but they're starting to step on their toes. First round, they executed very well. The second round, they are not off to a good start between what happened at Loudon and Denny, and then racing for 14th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, et cetera, and taking each other out to that now translating to this week where he goes into the final corner and doesn't deliberately take out his car that he owns. I mean, I applaud what he did, but once again, Toyota misses an opportunity to lock somebody in and potentially knock out who's won two of the last three winner take all championships in Joey Logano. So, um, like I said, the poll came back at 90%. I think you could probably drop 20% of that just from, like you said, the winner and the final two restarts. I don't think it was a bad race, but I don't think it was our best Kansas race, especially when you compare it to when Larson and Busher came to the line for it. And so yeah, we'll start there. What did you, besides the final ending, what was there that you liked about it?
Honestly, I was thinking it was one of the worst Kansas races we've had since the next gen. Honestly, like we preach about how good the next gen race is at mile and a half, and this probably comes second to last, maybe third to last to that Vegas race, that the first or second Vegas race of the
Mhm.
this new car. Like it was just to me like, yeah, the restarts were great. There was fanning out. There's three, four wide, and you, you know, cutthroat racing going on. But the moment you lined out, if you had a good car, you might pass somebody like Denny Hamlin passed the lead, and you might get a spot or two. But when the poll came out, 90%, I thought, like I just asked you before we started this show, was I watching a different race? Because that race was not amazing. It had an amazing finish,
Yeah.
and it had, you've got people saying that Chase, you know, took their lunch money, and it's like Chase got lucky that Denny ran Bubba up the hill. He was going to run third. Yes, it was amazing. He went 10th to third in a lap and a half, but the final two spots were literally handed to him on a platter.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time seeing where it was a great race. It was a decent race, but as far as the next gen on mile and a half, it was lackluster for me.
Yeah. Well, if I look at the race in totality, I think, all right, so we were expecting more tire wear. I don't feel like tires mattered as much. And we saw that when Joe Logano and others took two tires earlier in the race and were able to, maintain some decent track position. So then when we get to the end of the coming down to those final restarts, Chase took four, everybody else took two. Denny had a bad pit stop, lost control of the race. I'm in agreement with some of the others. I think if that didn't happen, he probably handily wins this race first off. And he
Oh
was
yeah.
comfortably going to do it even with the bad power steering. I didn't see where they were going to catch him. They would close in and then he would, because the way that, and I say that because of the way Kansas as a track is designed with the variable banking, it allows you to arc the corner so wide there's speed throughout the entire corner. Where some of our others, there are really only one or two lanes. But Michigan, Kansas, Charlotte definitely provides you, and Vegas to some extent, a lot more opportunities to fan out and you can kind of work everywhere. I didn't see as many wall riders as I thought we would because Kansas is usually a top heavy track and it was more a lane down or a mid lane. You know, when
Yeah, it was
Denny
middle
and
lane.
Chase were ran, it was pretty much a middle lane race for most of
They
the day.
put that stupid spoiler camera on Larson's car, and it was pointless because
Yeah.
he might have rode up there maybe 5% of the race, maybe 10.
Yeah.
Like there was not much wall riding to do, and
No.
um,
Um,
and
the
I
Toyotas, yeah,
I
go
have
ahead.
to I don't know if NASCAR or NBC USA in a sense or HBO Max who controls the camera positioning. I get that the spoiler cam is cool for a lap or two, but if you're watching HBO Max and you're a fan of Larson like I am, the last thing you want to see is the spoiler cam to be on for 15 straight laps. You can't see what's going on.
Right.
You're seeing the top part of the car and whatever's to the right of the car. Like we get it. It's neat if if he's wall riding, but if he's not wall riding, you're sitting there going, okay, what's going on in front of him? Have no clue. You literally have to go to the car behind him
Mhm.
to see what he's doing. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, no matter who they're on, whether it be Reddick, whoever, you don't need to be. You got to think about the people that are paying to watch the onboards. They're mainly paying to watch forward. Now, if
Mhm.
they're leading and they're leading and somebody's behind them, you know, chomping at the bit to get by them, yeah, show the rear view camera. Otherwise, keep it on the damn roof.
Well, a lot of it, I will say, so for just talking about the camera, I do think since we've gone to the side camera slash spoiler based camera location and the splitter camera, like they were neat when they first came out, but I think they over rely on them now. I think is your point that they
Yeah,
to overhype the excitement in hopes that he's going to go up there and run the wall. He didn't really do that all day. So to me, that was, it, I mean, it's good to pre-plan, but it was a wasted camera position. So why are we showing it to your point? And I get that. Um, and it used to be the same thing when they first came out with the roof cameras that were like a puck that had all the decals and they'd rotate and spin and do all that. Because I agree, when I'm watching them, I don't really want to see like from the nose of the car down on the ground as he comes around because that doesn't give me any frame of reference as to where he is in compared to his competitors. How close is he to the like? Is he really making ground and closing in on him or not? Um, because it's such a skewed frame of reference for your visuals. So, uh, but as far as the quality of racing, like you said, I think I think if the tire had had a little bit more wear to it, we would have seen more overall passing. I'm not gonna say once you got out front, you had complete control of the race because I mean Denny did restart a couple times towards the back and make his way forward and carve his way through. So if you had a good car, you could pass, but it wasn't as good as some other private previous Kansas races. Toyota's just in, you know, well, I'd say let's break it down by manufacturer. So obviously, even though Chase won the race, and I was glad to see HMS have some strong stuff. You know, I had this race circled as something I was looking for in a judgment of where HMS was. Chase had an opportunity to lead, and he managed to win the race. He didn't win the race because he had the best car. He was been a benefit of two critical things: having extra tires, and because this track allows everybody to spread out, you can get that air under your car, and you've got five Toyotas, all of which need to win. None of them have locked themselves into the next round yet. because they're all pulling air off each other, slowing each other down. If you watched his in car for those final two laps, it was extremely impressive from the restart to see him put Byron in the middle, build the momentum on the outside, and then carve through them like they were standing still. But that wasn't because he had the raw speed advantage over. It was because they were dicing each other up to see who was going to
Yep.
get where. It in return, it slowed them down and brought them back to him. Now, that's not taking anything away from the credit of like you still have to make those moves and not wreck somebody. And we're not, I would say I am not used to watching Chase make those kind of moves. I would have expected when I was watching that and we went back and watched the video replay, that looked like more like a Kyle Larson driving than
Yep. I agree.
a Chase Elliott driving,
But
the way he carved with precision through there. It was impressive, and I'm glad to see it because he needs more of that. And they had a good day. I will say, the way they qualified, the way they practiced, that's what they need if they're going to contend. Um, when I look at the rest of the HMS drivers, so Larson like just crushed everybody in the spring here and was really nowhere to be found for most of the day. And that was
yeah,
surprising
he
for
rode
me.
around in fifth, second through seventh all
Yeah,
day.
is
Just depends
and I
on where
said
he lined out on restart.
nowhere to be found from a like you went kind of like Bristol. You went from being the dominant car in the spring to not being anywhere near as competitive in the fall. So that does have me concerned for HMS as a whole. Even though they won the race, they're definitely at a disadvantage to Gibbs and Toyota as a whole. You look at how bad Byron ran and Bowman ran. Byron really didn't expect that from him. He was gifted a lot of points. Competitors
Yep.
stepped on their toes between some wrecks that happened. He was able to make up some positions, and they finally got some changes in the cars. If that doesn't happen, he's going into the Roval, with just barely a 20-point cushion, which is easy to wipe out. So that was a good thing for them and a missed opportunity for the competition. Um, the other one that really, uh, you know, jumped out to me was just how, you know, Bubba again ran well there, did exactly what I thought. I was surprised that Reddick, again, being at a wall heavy track, Reddick was not as strong as I would have expected. He was able to make up ground, but again, not as strong. But when we find out the news that his son's, going through heart failure or whatnot, then all of a sudden his performance starts to make sense to me.
Yeah.
At least, his mind is somewhere else, and I don't blame him one bit. The fact that he's still in it and fighting, the fact, that his kid's in the ICU fighting for his life, like that in itself is impressive.
Yep.
So, what else? You got anything in particular you want to talk about with it?
Well, with the race itself, um, I got a few things. We got
Sorry,
we
go
got
ahead.
the finish with Chase, like I said, but like the amount of and this if this is one of you guys listening, I just want you to go back and actually watch with your eyes. Danny drives in the corner, floats up the track, and Bubba goes in the wall. Now, whether you're a Chase fan or you're not a Chase fan, you tell me how Denny doing that proves that Chase smoked Bubba. I've
Right.
seen that so much on social media. I'm like, what are we watching? Because
Yeah.
do we have beer goggles on that are that
Oh, for
blurred?
sure.
So, and then, before all that, we had the 38 flipping,
Yeah, that was insane.
which was insane the way it happened. Somebody showed a Cars 3 thing where it flipped up on the wall.
Yeah.
But so there was a neat little stat or not a stat, but it's just ironic. So we remember Talladega back in '03 when the
Mhm.
38 car flipped.
Yeah.
You know who won that race that day? The Napa car, Michael
Oh, yeah.
Waltrip.
Yep.
It was the same date,
Huh.
September 28th, '03, and September 28th, 25. The 38 car flips and the Napa car wins. Wasn't a Napa car this weekend, but it's still,
Yeah. I will
it's
say for Chase fans, that's finally they have a car that's not worthless. That Kelly Blue Book car, you can't give
yeah,
that
that
car
car is
away.
beautiful.
That car is pretty for whatever reason. It just hasn't caught popularity. Now that he's won in it, maybe it will.
Yeah, liquid color is the way to go on that one.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk Toyota on Toyota violence here. So 2 weeks in a row we've had Toyota on Toyota violence.
Yep,
We know what happened at Loudon, but this week, you know, I don't I personally don't have a problem with what Denny did because
I
Denny's
do.
like he said, he's well, we'll get there. So, like he said, when I strap into the car on Sundays, I'm the driver. I have to do what's best for me and the 11 team. Now, that being said, I want to back up to what Denny said at the prior week about big picture racing. Nothing that I saw after, on that final restart was big picture racing. Every single one of those guys, and I can't blame them, but they were all racing for themselves instead of the name on the board on the the building. And when they go back here, and let's when we get past the Roval, we'll have a reflection point, and then when we lock in the final four, there's going to be a reflection point. We don't know what those are going to look like yet, but if things don't turn out the way they expect, that all they have to do is go back and look at this race right here. If we have a Penske championship and say we did this to ourselves, because Toyota has by far and away had the fastest cars, no question, and they have managed to give away two races with Toyota and Toyota violence. And this race in particular, you had five chances to win this race when you lined up on that final restart, and none
Yep.
of it together to make sure that a TRD
They
or a Toyota Gazoo Racing
they
machine,
took a, they took the white flag. Five Toyotas in the top five.
yeah, one through fifth, they finished the flag with a Chevy and then some Toyotas. And, Denny, with what he did, I understand what he did. I am against it from only one perspective, and that's the big picture racing. One week you're saying we need a big picture race. The next week, okay, I get it's for your 60th, and you can't
He's
tell
his
me,
own worst enemy.
yep, he's his own worst enemy. So you go in there, you take out your team who absolutely needs to win to get in,
Yep.
and pretty much needed it to get in anyway, at least one car. The other three of you are definitely safe. Chat or Briscoe and Beth
Well,
and Denny were all very comfortable. But the more important part is if Bubba had won that race, it puts Joey behind the cut line. Joey instead is comfortably above the cut line, going in with enough of a points gap that they have some options. And he has managed to use these kind of opportunities to make his way to the final four when it matters. So if he's still
well,
in when we get to Vegas, I feel very confident about my prediction that it's going to be a Penske 4 for 4. Go ahead, bud.
here's here's the problem though. If I wanted Bubba to win
Me too.
because
I
of
thought Bubba was going to win it.
I thought he had the bag. I'm shocked that Denny pulled that move, being the owner. The bullshit on the driver on Sunday, that's stupid. I think that I see his point, but when you put that much money towards something and you're saying you don't think about that, I think that's asinine. But the only thing he says he wasn't thinking about points, but if Bubba wins that race, not only is Joey on the cut line by 1 point, Larson's in the point lead, 54 up right now. If
Yep.
Bubba wins, he's point lead 32 up. Everybody's in turmoil then.
Hmm.
Everybody.
Hmm.
Because we know 32 points is not enough.
Yep.
We remember Kansas 17, he blew up and while running third and he missed the
Yep.
cut. So that would mean everybody that hadn't won would be on like, holy shit, what are we gonna do at the Roval?
Hmm.
So if Denny lets him win, Denny's only like plus what was it, plus 20, plus 22.
Yep.
So and we all know he sucks at road course racing. So I mean, it would have turned the playoffs on its head. But
Yep.
like you said, you let a Chevrolet win because you were worried about win 60 instead of worried about Toyota.
Yep. Instead of worrying about the big picture, you worried about the small picture, and the small picture may end up coming back to bite you because now So Ross is 13 below. Bubba's 26, Reddick's 29, Cindric's 48. Cindric's indefinite must win. Bubba and Tyler are pretty much must win because you can only make up 20 points in stage points, and neither one of them are going to go out and win both stages. It's, they're both capable of it.
They
But
are now, you know.
again, the the big factor is you're going into this race, and SVG has nothing to lose. All he is looking for is a win. All that some of the other people are looking for is a win, and AJ Allmendinger and such. So it's going to be hard to claw back a lot of these points. And then on top of it, so Denny would have come out with still a decent cushion, but he's fairly safe now with plus 48, and so is Bell, and so is Byron with what he made up. But they could have still been fairly comfortable, and he could have locked in one of the other Toyotas for sure and potentially knocked out one of the only two cars that when we go to Phoenix have a lock on that track. Instead, you're going to let him advance to the next round where we've got Martinsville. One of those Penske cars is going to win Martinsville more than likely. Joey won Vegas to get whoever wins Vegas is going to have plenty of time to set up for Phoenix. It was just bad decision making all around.
I mentioned Talladega's in there, and we all know Ryan Blaney is, for whatever reason, he just is he's the new Dale Jr. at Talladega.
Yep. So I'm when we get done this Sunday, they're gonna have to sit back and go, how did we let this happen? Especially after earlier in the first round where Gabe Hart said the championship runs through us. And from a speed perspective, they've been correct, but they've managed to give
They
away.
are the fast outside of New Hampshire. They are the fastest car week in and week out.
Yep.
It pains me to say that, but it's the truth. It's
Yep.
if it's not the 11, it's like the 20 or the one of the teammates, the 19. Like they're all three of those JGR cars are insanely fast week in and week out, with the exception of New Hampshire. New Hampshire, they're out to lunch, but
Well, going into the round of eight after this weekend, if Bubba had won and nobody else loses spots, then you end up bringing four Toyotas against a Ford and three Chevys. So
yeah,
you've got everybody outnumbered. Now you've got three Chevys versus three Toyotas versus two Fords. And it's going to be, when we reset again, it's going to be very, very hard to keep some of these people from going to the next round.
yeah,
So it's just not very smart. Um,
no.
as far as
I
I do want go ahead. I do want to talk about
I was gonna say, and, as far as the Roval goes, and we've been disagreeing on this for a month now.
Mhm.
Everybody's giving it to SVG. I just want to remind everybody how strong, whether it's the old car or this next gen, how strong Larson has been at the Roval in particular. He has the most laps led there. He's got 2 wins. He is very strong there, and do not doubt him for winning this weekend. Yes, SVG has spanked everybody since not winning Coda, but this is not a normal road course. So we got to remember that Larson is very good here, and he spanked him last year, and there's no reason to say that he can't do it again this year.
Well, so I would normally agree with you, but I'm the one that said I don't think HMS makes the final four. Now, they've all accumulated additional points, so they're going to make me look really stupid, and that's okay. But I still think, just looking at HMS's performance overall in the playoffs so far, 5 out of 10 races, they're not been up to where they normally are. They managed to get a win and they managed to survive, but they have definitely not been as strong, which is why going into this weekend, I agree SVG could be beat, but if he gets beat, I think it's going to be from Christopher Bell or Chase Briscoe personally, based off the last round of road courses we've had. Briscoe and Bell both have been the ones to challenge him and or beat him when it comes to like Coda and things like that. So, and Bell's finished runner up to him or in third. I'd say that 20 car, shortly followed behind by the 19, are probably the next two biggest threats to SVG, just based on what we've seen so far. I don't know what's going on with the 5 car. They're just not they're
I think they were experimenting, and it went wrong.
they are not executing the way that we're used to seeing them execute. And it's troubling because we're past the time where like you're out of mulligans. Like you got to, whatever you're doing, you got to stop.
Well, he has finished seventh 2 weeks in a row, so
How they're 54 points up is beyond me based on how
because of stage points,
atypical. Yeah,
they
because of how
they've got
atypical.
the most stage points through the playoffs, believe it or not.
So they're going the Byron method then. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, it's not a bad plan.
They've
Um,
got what did I read? It was 54. What was it? I don't remember. I just know they have the most stage points per playoff drivers.
okay. Well, I mean, that's good. They need them. They're definitely because they're not out there winning. Didn't win Bristol, didn't even contend to win Bristol.
Without stage points this weekend, all he has to do is finish 21st, I believe it is. That's without stage points, and we know he'll get them at least. I think all he needs is really 4 points or 7 points or something like that, and he's locked.
Yeah, 7 points. If he gets 7 points in the first stage, he can do whatever he wants, which would be good. Then they can try some different strategies. Um, so I do want to talk about the wreck with the 38 for 1 second. We talked about how he rode the wall, came down, but for as slow as he was, once he started tumbling down the track, I mean, it's clear that this car is too rigid
Oh
because
yeah,
he rode the wall, literally rode the driver's side door all the way down around at high speed, and it barely took any paint off the thing or wrap off the thing.
yep,
And it's good from a safety standpoint of the car not crushing, but it's also bad because that means if that's not giving, all that energy has to go somewhere else. And unfortunately, it's going into the driver more
yep.
than anything. So they've got to address that. Like I hate for when you hit the wall for that to end somebody's day, but the car being this essentially like a matchbox car that you just slamming into the wall on all four sides and it doesn't crush up enough is a major problem from a
And
safety aspect.
trucks are going to it in 2027. So,
Yeah. Um, so nothing
but
really else I got to
that's
talk
all I
about for
got
that
for you.
race.
The
Hmm?
only thing else I got, I didn't get to watch it because I'm not able to watch CW right now because of area issues. But um, this is the first time that the 88 hasn't won in a while.
Yep. Like what, they're like, oh, we haven't had a beer toast in like 4 weeks or something,
2 weeks.
or 2 weeks. I mean, good for Brandon Jones um, to get out there and win and run well because he wasn't able to do that when he was with Junior Motorsports. Um, yeah, so I mean, good for him. And it is nice to see somebody else win
Yeah.
as opposed to
The,
Con who's
the,
basically everything.
the only other thing I have with the lower series is I believe Corey Heim has like 1,000 point lead
Yeah, he's like
going into
plus
the last
100, I
round,
think, what it is.
something like that. 1,000 point lead going into the last round.
Yeah.
So I'm a little worried about him, but I think he'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
Village is a plus 105.
Did you see the sponsor issue they had
No.
with Roto? So hold on a second. Do.
Yeah.
Roto Rooter is right here on the car on the C post, right?
Okay.
They've got so many wins this year, they had to move Roto Rooter from here to here
Oh, yep.
because there's so many win stickers down at C post.
Yep. And then Heim time is plus 69 to the good in the round of eight. So,
And they haven't run a race, right?
yeah. And the next closest is Lane Riggs. So at 22, and then it's 1 and 0. And like, so if Heim doesn't win, and if Lane or and Zilich doesn't win, like, I can't believe like that. I can't believe they're saying that Zilich isn't already locked in, but I get it. There's two more races. There's technically, or
How
no,
many points does he have?
plus 105 over the cut.
Oh my God. Well, he
That's
can't. He'll be locked in after the second race or after the first race, probably,
yeah. Like,
depending on how he runs.
well, for Jones is already locked in, so I think they're on the same schedule from here on out. So because they're at the round of 12. So basically, when he
Are they
starts,
starting it this week?
So when he runs this race, that'll do it.
Okay.
And then Allgaier's plus 68, Mayer's plus 43. Like, unless somebody comes up here and wins, that's your final four right there. Jones,
Yeah.
Zilch, Allgaier, Mayer.
Yep.
So, um, all right. So let's shift gears. Let's talk about. There's a lot of wild stuff being talked about. So
Yeah. The rumor mill just got really hot out of
yeah,
nowhere.
the rumor mill has gotten really crazy. You got Adam Stern reporting stuff, and he's not one to report things if they're not basically 99% true. So obviously it's going to piss off Jordan Bianchi, but I think based off what Dale Jr.'s saying, what Adam Stern's reporting, and the motto that they're going with for 2026, that they're going back to, to their roots, it sounds like we might actually go back to the 36 race standard season and get rid of the playoffs and get rid of winning year in. And I don't know if they'll keep stages or not. I'm okay if they do. I'd like to get rid of the caution breaks that go with them, though, so we can get back to some traditional strategy. But I gotta be honest, this is not something I ever thought we'd see. So if that happens, that's going to be wild. And I would like, be very curious how it impacts the schedule in the future, knowing that, they basically have been setting up the tracks based on the playoff format. We want to have this mixture at this time of year and this mixture at this time of year. If we go back, they can't do anything about the 2026 season because the schedule and the tickets are already being sold and things like that. But 2027, if we do in fact go back to a 36 race season next year, just straight up points, and they actually increase the point values by getting rid of the playoffs and just increase win values, things like that. I'll be curious what the 2027 schedule looks like very much because now you're not trying to build your races around cutoffs and all those things. So it
Yeah.
definitely opens schedule flexibility to move some other events in other places. So
Maybe go to each track once instead of twice. And
yep. So what do
I
you think
doubt that.
first off? Because it sounds like from Dale Jr.'s what he's finally said with him being the committee, the last meeting, it sounded like it was a 30 to 40% chance that we're going back to 36 races. With what Adam Stern's reporting and what's it sounds like it's way more than that.
Well, what's the quote that he said? Do you have it?
Adam Stern, hold on.
What they're pushing back to roots. I mean,
Yeah, back to our roots.
okay. So back to our roots could mean the 36
The
race season.
tagline, hell yeah, Racing Series prepares its rebranding efforts for the 20, developed a back to roots marketing campaign with the tagline, hell yeah, per people familiar with the series, preparing its branding efforts for 2026.
I
So,
think it could mean the 36 race schedule. It could also mean like you kind of referenced it for a second. It could mean that we might keep stages, but we're not going to throw cautions for them.
mhm.
There could be so many, and there is that rumor that we are going to 760 next year instead of six or seven. Was it 750
Yeah,
instead of seven or six? Where are we at?
we're basically
Six.
going to add 100 horsepower, more or less.
Yeah. So the horsepower being up could be part of it. Just there's so many different small things that it could be. If it was all of them, I think our buddy Chip might need an ambulance to arrive at his house because he would just be, need to get him off the floor from so much joy. But I mean, us too. I mean, we would be in, I mean, I would love it, but you just kind of wonder if it's just a marketing campaign or if there's actually something to it.
Well, it makes me because the other thing is, okay, so you've got that. We could be going back to a 36 race schedule. We could be going back to a more traditional points format. We could be getting rid of the win you're in. We could be getting rid of stage cautions or stage breaks altogether. Um, we could be going back to a more traditional start time, which, I think has definitely impacted ratings. But so with the changes they're talking about, I mean, any of these are drastic changes compared to how they've been bought in and doubled down on the playoffs. Everybody loves the playoffs. The playoffs are so good. There's a change coming no matter what. That's pretty much guaranteed at this point based on all the things that have come out, which a couple weeks ago I wouldn't have thought of because we were so late in the season and you've got to give people time for sponsorship negotiations and all this because bonuses are these sponsorship agreements are built around, oh, you made the playoffs, you're a top 10 car, a top five car, you made it to the round of four.
Well, maybe the incentive is top 16 still makes a lot of money. So
Yeah.
maybe there's still that.
Um, we had talked about maybe they should, you don't have to go back to the 36 race schedule, but let's go back to the chase. There wasn't really anything wrong with the chase when you went away from it. You just found a
Yeah, the only thing wrong with it was
cool.
somebody won it 5 times in a row.
Yep, but you also had compelling racing mixed in there, and you also had, had you, I vehemently believe that if you had had better track rotation in there, Jimmy Johnson doesn't win five straight. He might win two or three because they were
Yeah,
still undoubtedly really good, but five straight and the number of races probably not because you'd have had more mixture in their track disciplines that other people are good at. So um, I think they are definitely taking their, we talked about it and internally and then before the podcast and since the podcast, I think they're definitely taking for the longest time they've said, doesn't matter how people show at the track, and we don't really care about the ratings. Like it's becoming a very serious conversation for them. At one point in time they were second only to the NFL. We've fallen as a sport that we love a long ways
yeah,
from there. And everybody's excuse is well, we're competing against the NFL and it's this and it's that. And I personally think it's bullshit because we're both football fans. So if NASCAR is on and there's an NFL game on, I'm not turning to NFL just because it's the NFL. You've given me enough reasons, and a lot of fans have said this, that NASCAR has basically been pissing in their face for the better part of 20 years between the chase and mostly the last 15 years has been the winner take all scenario, or 10 years has been the winner take all scenario. We're on year 12 now. And you're telling everybody that everybody loves it, and they don't love it. Fans have made it very clear we don't like it. And they call the people that are vocal on Twitter and SiriusXM like we're some minority and try to shout us down that we're stupid. But the numbers don't lie. Two consecutive round of 12 races with less than 2 million viewers with a one
yep,
point whatever. Like the Xfinity series is getting more people by being on the CW network
yep,
than all this other stuff. And part of it is the gimmicks. Part of it is you have to play hide and seek to find the fucking race on any given weekend because we're not consistent like we used to be, so that they get the most money. Um, so that was a lot. Go ahead, give me your thoughts.
well, you you got to kind of wonder back, even when the chase started, there was a lot, 05, 06, there was a lot of people watching the sport,
Yeah,
and but they were still starting at 1 o'clock
yeah,
still. So you got to kind of go back and look at what made your sport popular and try to redo that. So that's probably what they're hoping to do. They keep hiring people to help them do this and that. It's like, just look back at yourself and see, what did we change? Oh, we changed this. Oh, we changed that, and undo it. People keep saying we can't put it back in the box. The fuck you can't.
yeah.
We can't take this off. We can't add this. Yes, you can.
It's never too late to do the right thing.
No, you know, people also are probably watching the Xfinity series more than Cup because it's more exciting.
Yeah, it's
There's more
better racing.
passing. There is better racing going on. Everybody says that the best race of the weekend is always the Xfinity series. Every now and then it's a truck race, but with time stinking up the show,
Yeah.
it's but you
Well, I mean, if
know,
we could go down and make a list of like, and I'm really optimistic about this back to its roots racing, but you can take a number of things and figure out like I agree it's not one thing that's hurt NASCAR, but it's the death by a thousand cuts. It's the TV package, it's the start times, it's the car, it's the lack of superstars, which are in part due to the way you have to race because you've made it so expensive so you can't attract a non-Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100 company sponsor that you have so much pressure on the drivers that if they say the wrong thing, you could lose all your money because their teams don't make enough money to be able to run in the sport as is, to be able to have the driver they want and not have to worry about any type of consequences with the personality. Um, like I said, the start times are a big one. I think about, okay, we were at our height pre-chase, and we maintained it all the way up until, there was a lot of backlash, obviously, with the Brickyard. But even going into the chase, we were in our height. And then we started slowly getting away from our roots that made us this great sport for the first 50 years. We started with, okay, we're going to make a cut and we're going to do the 10 best drivers over 10 races. Okay, that's fine. That worked fine. Then we went to 12, then I think 14, then 6,
16.
7.
No, it went to 16.
Okay, or 10, 12, 16. But then on top of it,
You let too many sponsors say, well, we're not in it. Like you listen too much. It's 12 is fine. Look at the MLB playoffs right now.
yep,
I think there's 30 MLB teams. There's 12 teams in it.
yep,
That's perfect. And after tonight, potentially tomorrow night, there's only going to be um, eight eight teams left or something
yep,
like that.
yep.
So, or not eight. I'm not doing this math right.
No, I think you're right.
Well, there's two. Yeah, eight. You're right. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
I
So
don't
it'd be
follow
eight
along with this,
teams
but I
left.
think that's right. So,
Well, the two teams on buys on each league were kind of threw me off a little bit. But they got they got they get enormous ratings through the playoffs because there's only 12. At one point, there was only 10 teams, and one of the playoffs game, the wild card was one game, which was stupid. 162 games to play one game.
yep.
That's kind of I like the new format, but anyway, to get back to racing, it's you have to you have to think about they keep wanting to find these young fans. Well, me and you are going as a core. What are they calling us? Legend fan or
They just call us like legacy fan, if you will.
legacy fan? The legacy fan will just like our parents did us and their parents did them. They're going to bring people in, but if you don't cater to us,
Hmm.
we're not going to bring more people in because it sucks.
Yeah.
And what I was
They-
going to say when you were talking about, through the brickyard, well, what happened at the same time? They brought in the COT, and we both argue in a good way. The COT was great racing, but looks wise, the car was atrocious when it first came
Mhm.
out,
Yep.
and that made some people leave. It had a wing on it, and this, that, and the other, and like who was on Junior
Pemberton.
last week? Pepperton said all the money and stuff they put into that wing, and they're like, take it off.
Yep. Fans hate it.
It
They
had good racing. Why are we taking it off? Because a couple people were upset about it.
and even when they took it off, the racing wasn't awful. Still, the
No, but
COT,
it did change a little bit.
yeah, it did. It went from where you couldn't, it made it where the moves that you would see where they could literally drive through the corner completely sideways. You could read the door numbers of the sponsors and save the car. That went away.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just a culmination of things. It's start times, and I would love to sit and like kind of figure out like of which how much of each percentage of something that drove a fan away that was someone like the age of my father that's in his 70s that they don't watch as much, or my uncle that used to buy all these tickets, or you and I that we don't even watch as much as we used to. And it's not because
Yeah,
we don't love the
I'm
sport.
cup only right now. Cup only is all I got right now, and even that, I'm starting to be like you with not just the car, but like, and this is probably petty, but the snub of my home racetrack. We
Mhm.
had a race. You took it from us. Don't tell us why.
Yep.
The
It
kid,
ended with great racing and you just took it away.
yeah. So you keep snubbing my track. You own the one of the key track owners owns my track. Every other track they own has a race.
Yep.
My track doesn't have a race, and they're still trying to get Nashville Fairgrounds a race, and they don't own the track. Small stuff like that are snubbing people like me, and I'm like, why am I watching still?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, when the schedule came out, they talked about that with the New England fans for Dover, for example. Now Dover went from 2 point races to 1 point race to the All-Star race, not even a full event. So you keep taking away from these markets is definitely a key issue to chase other markets.
That
Ultimately,
don't want
you
you.
try and either chase the Formula One fan, or because you want to be in that hot conversation right now, or you want to chase the younger fan who has the attention span of a fucking gnat.
Yep.
Like they watch like clips. They consume the sport in clips. Well, we're never going to race in like 10 lap shootouts.
Yep.
So stop chasing those people. I'm not saying they can't be turned into a good race fan, but
The only people that are going to be able to bring them in are me and you,
yep,
and
our
they're
ones that
not
love
seeing that.
that can tell them why is this good. They could for the people that love stages. I hate stages. I don't disagree with the points. I do agree to some extent that if you run well all day and all of a sudden you have a flat tire and it wrecks your car, now you get 1 point. Like that is definitely not fair. It
Yep.
worked for 50 years, but I agree it's not fair. So we should award you points throughout the race. But we also used to do that with 5 points for leading most lap, 5 points for leading a lap. You know, bring some of those things back. Instead, we've done the stage points, and the stage points aren't a problem. In fact, they do help people make up a gap big time. It also helps you build a gap. But everybody that thinks the stage cautions are a good thing have their head in the sand because I can pick a track type, show me the stages, and I can tell you the race strategy right now, barring any additional natural cautions. I can tell you how long they're going to go, what their pit strategy is going to look like. Like I don't even need to watch the first two stages because I can just watch the third and know how the race is going to likely play out. I don't know who the people will be, but if you showed me the running order, I could tell you how it's going to play out. And
Yep.
that's good. And they did try and go back to it once at the Indy Road Course, and because it didn't do exactly everything right the first time,
Well, they did Coda, Sonoma, any road course, and they said that we're done. We're not doing it no more.
so we're not going to do this anymore. But when they make other changes, they tend to run them until it's proven that they're bad. So I don't think it was a good sample size, first off. I think you also needed to take it somewhere other than a road course. Their road courses aren't the longest races. So it may not work as well like it should at a road course, but it definitely will
And
fix a lot of things at the
and
bigger.
it's this car's worst tracks.
Yep. Um,
So
so yeah, I think it's just like the people who say, well, it's NFL. And I mean, yeah, the NFL is up in popularity, but I don't think that means we should just be way down, or like Junior said, we should just leave the room. I think it is truthfully mismanagement by the next generation of NASCAR brass with what they were handed. Brian
well,
France
they
took,
fired all the people that knew what they were doing.
well, yeah, well, when Brian France took over and we went to the chase, that was the start of everything that's come since. He took over after his dad died. Jim's taken over after Brian, but Jim's a sports car guy, so he's running like a sports car deal. But like to your point, they got rid of David Hoots. Mike Helton retired. Got rid of Robert Pemberton. Got rid of a lot of the key people that made sure there was integrity in the sport and that were voices that were counter to what maybe some of the more far off ideas that we have ultimately pursued uh, to the detriment of the health of the sport. And we were talking about it earlier this year. I was like debating, like, do I really even like how much longer am I willing to wait for them to fix it before I just don't give a shit anymore? So
And
the
then
fact,
if they do fix it, two
yeah,
years after you stop watching, are you going to come back?
right. So the fact, and some of the fans they pushed away like are not coming back. So if you
Yep.
want to keep the ones you got and potentially draw back in a small portion of the ones you pushed away, you better do something because the ratings show it. And the other thing that I meant to mention, we've talked about it a little bit before because you and I went to Bristol a year ago. the lack of at-track activities and activation by the sponsors because everybody's just chasing the TV audience, so they don't think they have to give the fans that are at the track something that's really worthwhile. Or, the whole weekend, like I used to go to Bristol, I would bring my camera and bring my stuff, and I would literally be there from opening practice on the fall weekend on Wednesday all the way through Saturday night. As soon as I get off work, I go watch practice. I would go watch qualifying for each race. And then like there was always something going on there. And they always had stuff out in the infield or not in the infield in the outer surroundings. And that is not like that anymore. At their
Well,
race,
yeah,
you
just
go,
like where we parked was the start finish line side
yep,
of the racetrack, and they used to have all sorts of activation back there, and that's where we were parked.
it was
They
empty.
park people there now
Yep.
because they don't activate. All the activation is, if you want to call it that, on the backstretch side, and it's just not really worth going to.
Yep. That as a longtime race fan, as a 20, 23 years as an adult race fan, to see that transformation compared to what I saw when I was a kid. Like we're just not the sport we used to be. And I'm hoping this back to our roots push is gonna fix a lot of that because like I said I was like you said, and I said I'm looking at it like how much longer am I willing to put up with this before? All right, well, if it ain't football season, it ain't this, then if I got time, I'll watch racing. But if not, I'm gonna go work on my yard. I'm gonna go run my business, whatever. I'm because fans are finding other things to do
Yep.
because NASCAR has been so tone deaf for so long. And all their PR people, like Danielle Trotta and uh, Dave Moody, and all these people, if you call in and you complain, they tell you you're wrong, that your opinion's
Yep.
not valid. But then you've got Mark Martin saying, all the people I'm talking to, this is what they're saying.
And
So,
apparently, he's a part of
and he's
the
part of the team. Yep.
part of the staff that is looking at the new whatever they're going to do next year. So
Yep. You got Mark
um,
Martin, Dale Jr., Jeff Gluck, and some others. And
I hate that Jeff Gluck's a part of that, and I
I,
like Jeff Gluck, but man, I don't even want to know what he's pushing in there because
well, so if you haven't listened to the Dale Jr. download yet, you said you hadn't. I will say that so he said that even Jeff Gluck stood up and has changed his mind. Jeff Gluck is pro 36 races.
oh wow,
Jordan Bianchi, who's not on the committee, is pro playoffs. So listening to those two fight and then Jordan be an asshat is kind of entertaining, but it also pisses me off when Jordan's not serious and not taking this as serious as you have this platform and people are listening to you. And it is a serious conversation because it has a long-term impact on the health of the sport.
yep.
To millions of dollars and millions of fans. And
What they have to look at is Formula One is ultra popular right now.
yep,
Which you, as a NASCAR fan, you watch Formula One, and you go, why is this popular? How is this popular? They
yep.
might pass once a race, once a race, they might pass somebody, and you go, why is this popular? Why is this sold out all around the world?
Mhm. Why do all
Could
these
it
teams
be
want to
the
be a part of it?
all year round point thing? Could it be just simple as that? Points, like NASCAR is the only thing that has a playoff part of its racing, except for drag racing, which drag racing stole that from us. They have the countdown,
Yep.
which is what our chase was, and but that's still close enough to what they were doing. It it still has its moments of excitement,
Well, I
but
mean, you look at to your point about Formula One, you look at the way their points are structured and the way you earn points. There are people that 3 and 4 races into the year are already out of the championship fight. Like they have
they're
zero
they're
chance.
out after race one.
And they're like, yeah, that like 3 or 4 races into their schedule have absolutely
You
no hope of
you
like
have
they're
to
not going to
finish in
make a
the top
podium.
half of the field to get any points.
Yep. So you got to finish up high, and that doesn't seem to bother any of those people. So
Nope.
why do we think we need to have this other process? And one of the things that many people have come around to agreeing with is the point system we have currently is too fucking convoluted between the stage points, the number of points you get for finishing, the fact that then there's the bonus point structure that goes into the playoffs and how those carry through. Like it's so hard to track that if you are not a super NASCAR nut, you can't keep up with it.
And it
And
was all devised to be able to keep up with it.
yeah,
But
it was
once they
supposed to be
went to
easy.
stages,
Yeah.
it made it harder because you have stage points.
Yep.
So you like you said, it is convoluted. It's it's ridiculous that you went to the system and then, oh, by the way, you have to now figure out if they
Yep.
had stage points or not to figure out if they actually need to gain 1 point, like it was start of the race, or oh, they got 7 points and I only got two, so now it's you're done. You're now 5 points out, not just one. It
I'm really hoping, if nothing else, that they fix with this pushback the amount of points a winner gets, period, just straight up.
it sounds like from what Jenny's saying that it's going to happen.
Because you should not ever be able to finish second, third.
Third,
Nobody should ever get more points than the winner, ever.
yeah,
The fact that you can win stage one, win stage two, finish 10th, and accumulate more points than the person who just straight up wins the race and accumulates no stage points, that shouldn't happen. We're here to do one thing, win the fucking
yeah.
race. And that has been so lost in the way.
And not only was that lost, but you lost leading a lap point. You lost leading the most laps. You know, Daniel, I think it was Daniel Trotta was talking about, how important, or how you get so many points for winning stages and everything. It's like you could lead every lap of the stage and pit with two to go, so you can flip the stage
Yep.
and get no points. How is that? How is that?
Good.
You're going for the win, so you have to flip the stage, but you're losing points to do it.
Yep. You actually
So why are you not getting
incentivize from
lap
winning the
leg
race.
points? Yeah,
Yep, you are de-emphasizing the importance of the race win based on how a lot of the stages are broken up.
and
And
that alone is a reason to get rid of those stage breaks.
yep,
That alone.
yep, because yeah, I mean, just the number of ways they have. I mean, Dale, I'll never be able to do it as well as Dale did. Dale's done on the Dale Jr. download, but to his point, like you go into a race weekend, you have something bad happen, and if you've already locked yourself into the playoffs, it's like it didn't matter. That's a problem. Every race should matter. And right now, if you win a race early on in the season, the other 20 plus races actually don't matter to you,
Yep.
especially because you don't need to be anywhere in the points other than have a win to get into the playoffs. So the fact that that can happen, and I do think, so back to the ratings point, I do think that is why the ratings are the way they are. Fans know that this, I don't even know what the right word is, but this mockery of a championship system is about to come to an end.
Yeah,
You,
and
all of the air has been sucked out of the room. So people are like, why do I need to watch this? I know it's not a legitimate championship way to crown a champion. And all I have to do is go through the last 11 to prove it. I can go look at, I laid it out before. Harvick was the best car in 2014, actually won the championship. He was the best car in 2015, didn't win the championship. Kyle Busch has never been the best car, has two championships. Chase Elliott wasn't the best car any year, has a championship. Kyle Larson won 10 races, won the championship, thankfully. Harvick and Denny both won, or Harvick won nine and
nine
Denny
and eight.
won 9 and 8, respectively. And neither one of them came out of there with a championship. Like, it's clear that,
I was going to say earlier, and I forgot it and went on to a different subject.
yeah,
Me and you agreed that the only thing that matters right now on this current statue of things is if you make the round of four. Your year is made if you made the round of four. That's the only thing that matters.
yep. And even the drivers have said, I care more about making the round of four than I do if I walk out of there with the championship. Walking out of the
Yep.
championship would be great. But if I don't, the round of four appearances are worth more. And the
Yep.
regular season championship is worth more in a lot of people's eyes. I
Yep.
would rather be the regular season champion of 26 races where I did my absolute best and I outpointed everybody than run like shit for 26 races, win 3 races in the final 10 races, just enough to get to the round of four, and the third race obviously being the round of four win. I don't think I could look in the mirror and be like, man, we were the best that year. I'd be ashamed to
And
hold be
and look
upset.
at the year. Look at the year. What year was it Logano got taken out in Martinsville?
Oh, 2016.
Okay, so look at that year. The first, I think it was the first round. Or was it first or second round? He won every race of the round,
Yep.
and he didn't make it to the final four
Yep.
because of that. Like that on its own level, he possibly could have won the championship that year, but got take the chance taken away because Matt Kenseth was pouting.
Yep. 2017, 2018, and 2019, Truex was the best car by like a country mile over everybody. They should have been three-time championships, and they've got one. You know, 2016, when Jimmy Johnson won his seventh, it was only because the best cars that year got taken out. Logano got taken out going in. They, or no, not that one. He didn't get taken out. So yeah, it was a different year then because he didn't get taken out. And it was 2015 where that happened because 2016,
Yeah,
he was competing with Johnson and them. And instead, Logano took out fucking Edwards, who was on his way to winning his championship. And,
yep,
he's pretty much said in his interview earlier this year, like, that's part of why he left
yeah.
because no longer, and he said it when Bruton suggested all this shit years ago. A bunch of them came out and said that this is not how racing is supposed to work. And I'm
No,
surprised it's honestly taken us 11 plus years to figure this out of this
I
experiment.
think it's taken ratings dips for them to go. Shit, these people are right.
And I say that only because we only made it through 10 years of the chase and then they flipped everything. So how did we get to 12 years? Because this is year 12 of the winner take all format. And up until earlier this season, they were heavily headed toward, well, we're going to go for a 13th year and still don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah,
So that was a lot on just, but that, I mean, that's big news that
yeah,
we're definitely getting something different next year.
and
And I do think the fact that we know we're getting something next year has made people tune out to the relevance of what we're watching this year.
yeah.
You know that the best
I,
car is probably not going to win. The person with the most wins is probably not going to win. Denny's got the most wins, should have more, but he's shot himself in the foot a couple times. Bell's coming back into the conversation. Briscoe's been on a heater late. HMS has been hot and cold, but we know, and SVG, who has four wins, isn't even in the conversation. Um, and possibly could have a fifth after this weekend. Like you could just tell that people are tired. We're like, why do I need to watch?
yeah,
Especially knowing that in the last 3 years of this car, if and even the Toyota people are saying it after Loudon, if those Fords get to Phoenix, it's game over. Nobody has anything for them. HMS has made improvements, but they still don't have anything for them on speed, corner speed, and neither does Toyota. They were distant in speed. So, um, yeah, let's see.
I've got no
Did we
more
talk
time
about
left.
Rodney? Did we talk
No,
about
I have, no,
Rodney?
we haven't.
So we've got a couple crew chief things. Like I have been hoping and praying Rodney would go to Kyle Busch. He's not, so that breaks my heart. I really, really wanted him to go crew chief for Kyle Busch, but I think Rodney honestly doesn't like the next gen cup car. I think if you asked him, because he's given a lot of criticisms to it, I think him going to JRM is perfect. He can still work on those cars. You can still shape fenders and
For
play with
now.
stuff for now, stuff underneath. Um, yeah, so I think that's a good place for him. I'm glad Kyle Busch is getting a new crew chief. I'm honestly surprised that Kyle Busch's crew chief is going to be for Connor Zilic. I don't think he is the caliber of crew chief that if you're talking about this guy as this next, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart type phenom. I don't think Randall Burnett is that caliber of crew chief personally,
He's
but that's just me.
obviously not.
But I don't know who you can get right now. It's not like you're not going to go get big ball Paul Wolf. You're not going to be able to go get most of those Toyota guys. I don't think. Chris Gale, Chris Gabehart, those guys are pretty secure where they're at.
If I was them, I would have tried to grab the guy that's crew chiefing him right now on Xfinity. I don't know
Yep,
why you wouldn't, but
yep, I agree. That would have been my move as well. I would have gone for somebody that's going to be able to that already has that chemistry with him. Um,
Yep.
so
But
yeah,
I've got to get going here. I've got
yep,
something I got to get doing in about 7 minutes.
yeah, no problem. But that's all I wanted to talk about today. I think um, I was I think the fact that we got all this good news coming post race makes the fact that the racing has been overall subpar this year,
Lackluster for sure.
not as good. And,
Yep.
you know, at the and the other people are saying, the whole goal of this car was to equalize the field. Well, I would mark this car a failure in that regard because we're in the fourth year of it, and it didn't make it past 3 years before the big three or the big three again. It's not the
For
three
sure.
drivers, but it's certainly the big three companies. Only
Yep.
those two companies technically have won races this year.
Yep.
Other the offshoots of they've won the majority of the races. So if the goal of this car was to level the field, you failed spectacularly. Only the
Yep.
first year didn't look like it was going to do what it was supposed to do. From here on out, the haves have outperformed the have-nots, and they're only going to continue to do it.
Yep. And they need to do a shit ton more testing and actually try to see what horsepower does. They need to see what 750, 850 does with this car. If they don't do it, then they're not doing themselves any favors.
Yeah.
They
And
need
then
to do the ride height thing. They need to raise the car off the ground and see what happens.
and you got to bring in
Do
more practice.
actual,
I can't test, and all of my work is reliant on the simulators, and whoever finds the edge first is only going to be able to get further ahead. Where the other teams that are at a disadvantage, they need the practice to be able to find the gap and close it. And when you
and
can't,
not to mention, if you're part of a tire test, you
yep,
you have so much advantage over the people that don't have the test.
yep,
Every time Joey Logano tests somewhere, he is fantastic.
yep,
And it's not right that these teams you only pick one driver per manufacturer, and that's all you're taking. And those three drivers are always good, depending on who they are,
yep.
at the track you tested at.
Especially when
Because,
everything is now based on partnership tiers.
yep.
I think every team should be able to send one representative. There's
Yep.
only 36 charters, and they're broke up against like basically 12 teams. So
30
what?
chargers.
What? Or yeah, 30 charters, six in escrow. But either way, you should be able to send one driver per team to an event. So, and you would get a better tire out of it as well because you'd have more data points.
Yeah.
So
Junior admitted that he was part of the Indy tire test that ruined the Brickyard for everybody.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. He's like, I
like,
guess I have to accept my blame for that. Yeah.
like Jesus Christ.
So, all right. Well, enjoy your evening. Appreciate you taking the time, and I'll get us uploaded, and we'll see what happens this weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right.